President Biden hit social media early today to challenge former President Trump to two debates, one in June, one in September. Here's a bit of his video.
Donald Trump lost two debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal.
He also posted about 30 minutes ago, we don't know if he did it, but somebody did it on his account, saying that he has accepted the invitation to debate on June 27th. That's just about 6 weeks from now. Former President Trump has told Fox News he will be there and is, in fact, looking forward to it. Of course, he threw down the gauntlet first, so Biden's catching up on this. President Biden is already fundraising off his debate challenge and his campaign quickly texting supporters asking for, just a little amount, $20 donations because he's going to debate. He's the president of the United States. You'd think he could figure out how to debate for free. But whatever, they fundraise. That's what campaigners do. Trump's campaign press secretary says they are confident.
They understand that Joe Biden cannot speak to a large crowd. That's why all of his campaign events are very controlled. They're also obviously very fearful of the angry American protesters that follow Joe Biden everywhere he goes. But nevertheless, President Trump will be up there on that stage. He is ready. And the American people deserve this. They deserve to hear directly from both candidates.
Doug Collins, former Republican congressman of Georgia, Brad Howard, president of Corcoran Street Group. Great to see you both. So, Doug, what do you think about this news?
Well, I think it's good news if we actually get to have it. I'm still not convinced it's going to happen, okay? Because if you look at the details that CNN just sent out and some others just sent out about this, they're actually sort of playing it like a presidential debate, saying if you get 15% in the polls, which could mean RFK could show up at this thing. And the Biden people won't let that happen at all. And so, again, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. I've been reading some stuff. I know y'all folks have as well. So, look, I think there's going to be plenty of outs in 6 weeks for Joe Biden to not get into this because, frankly, I don't think he wants this debate. He had to say something. We'll see how it actually goes. But if it does happen, we'll see.
So, Brad, the current president says he doesn't want a big crowd, or at least it's been said on his behalf. I don't know why that would be. I mean, it would be great to have an audience in there, I would think.
Well, don't get me wrong, an audience is great TV, but it makes for a terrible debate. In between trying to let the candidates speak and not talk over one another, to have a rancorous audience interrupting constantly just reduces the amount of time you get the candidates to debate.
We haven't seen that, though. The audience is not interrupting constantly.
At the last debates between applause and cheers and everything, and you saw it during the primary
like the State of the
debates.
Union, like when he gets interrupted for applause and cheers there? I mean, come on.
Correct. And you know how long that goes. And so we want an actual debate where we listen to the substance, the two of them go at each other, but there need to be rules so that both can present their points of view in a fair and equitable way.
Well, he didn't have any rules at the State of the Union, and it didn't seem to be a problem. Do you think he can have that energy level again is what a lot of people are asking?
Let's be clear. Joe Biden won the first debate. In fact, Donald Trump's poll numbers tanked after that first debate. I just saw an article today that said he was in a tailspin for weeks after that.
Not to be indelicate, but that was 4 years ago. And any video, any live that you have seen, you know that there has been some, he's not the same person at all times. Doug?
Well, I think that, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's debatable, as far as, debates, who won debates, who lost debates. Again, we're not having debates also. As someone who's actually stood on a stage and debate, these aren't debates. These are answering questions, and you try to then answer back and forth. If you want to have true debates, you give them a topic, let them talk to each other.
I agree with you.
That will never happen. That will never happen.
I agree with you.
And Joe Biden.
My whole career, I have said that.
Yeah, it's just tough. But like I said, if it happens, great. I mean, get the coffee pot ready in the White House or wherever they're going down here in Atlanta, because they're going to have to get him ready to go because he's not been ready to go. And look, I get the idea about the audience, but again, most of the audience is they don't want the reaction to him coming up. And then also you got a problem in this situation where, who's the moderator going to be? We'll see this. I mean, again, they had to answer somehow because he looks frail. A sitting American president who would not debate looks so weak that they had to do something. And if this happens, great. Good for the American people. We'll see how it happens.
So, Brad, I do want to just ask quickly about some of the pitfalls for this president in terms of the topics that would come up, like the economy. I mean, the inflation rate is ticking back. We're still way above that 2% that the president and his administration had promised the American people. It's almost the end of his first term. So, I mean, there are some problems. We got those inflation numbers today. Again, I mean, it's above
But
3%
improving.
again. It's not improving. Prices are still going up. Please don't sell that hockey puck.
No, I will say,
Prices are coming down, because you know they're not. Because you look like a guy who maybe would do his own grocery shopping. I don't know. And I say that as a compliment because that means you're in touch.
The economic indicators today indicated inflation coming down, so that's a positive sign. But let me back up to the previous speaker here. The general rule in politics is if you're the one claiming for debates, you're the one down in the polls. And so what we're looking for here is yes, that's the general rule. You don't need debates if you're in the lead.
The
So that's
American
what's
people
happening
want
here.
it.
So-
That doesn't make
Look,
them
it's the old school
losers.
thing.
No, look, the president has always said that he will debate in a structured debate where there are rules, and that the rules allow the American people to hear from both sides
Wow.
equitably.
All
and
right.
that's what we're looking forward to here, not constant
We
interruption.
got to run.
And
It was
name-calling.
your guy, by the way, Brad, who said that when he took office, inflation was at 9%. Not only is that a lie, it couldn't even be true because it only happened under his presidency.
He can make this case
Okay.
in the debates.
Oh. Well, you'll have to make it for him then, because that's not a true statement. You got to
don't know
step
if I'm
in with
that
the
good.
facts on his behalf. Doug, last quick.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Look, to try and spin anything like this, even when you're starting to have mainstream media push back against him and he can't answer the question, yeah, you got a problem in a debate.
Ooh, all right. We'll leave it there. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.